Imagine working in Europe for years, building a career, paying taxes, and supporting your family back home. Then, one document changes everything. Your work permit expires, your employer loses approval, your salary no longer meets a new requirement, or your residence application is refused. Suddenly, the question is no longer about your job. It is whether you can legally stay. That is why the phrase "Europe is deporting Filipino workers" sounds so alarming. But the reality is more complicated. There is no evidence of 7 European countries carrying out a mass deportation campaign against Filipino workers. What is happening is different. Across several European countries, governments are tightening work permits, residence rules, enforcement, and return procedures. Those changes can affect Filipino workers when their legal status depends on specific conditions. Today, we are looking at 7 European countries where these changes deserve attention in 2026. Some are making work migration harder. Some are increasing compliance checks. Others are strengthening procedures for people who no longer have the right to remain. But the most important part comes near the end, because one country has introduced a major new labor migration rule that could directly affect lower-paid foreign workers. Everything here is based on current government information and public immigration rules. So if you or someone in your family works in Europe, stay until the end, because the difference between working legally and having to leave can sometimes come down to one requirement. Number 1. United Kingdom. Britain has introduced major changes affecting foreign workers, especially in healthcare and social care, where many Filipinos work. But this is not a mass deportation of Filipino workers. The bigger issue is tighter immigration rules. Since 2025, the skilled worker system has required higher salaries, while overseas recruitment for new care workers has been restricted. Some transitional arrangements still protect people already legally working in Britain. However, visa status can depend heavily on the employer. If a sponsor loses its license, workers can suddenly face serious immigration problems. Some international care workers have already been left without jobs after sponsors lost approval. Britain is therefore sending a clear message. Having a job is not always enough. Salary, occupation, sponsorship, and visa conditions can all determine whether a Filipino worker can legally remain. Number 2. Sweden. Sweden introduced major labor migration changes in 2026, making it one of Europe's clearest examples of tighter work permit requirements. From June 2026, the general salary requirement is linked to 90% of Sweden's median salary, although certain occupations and groups can receive exemptions. Authorities are also strengthening requirements involving health insurance and workplace conditions. The goal is officially to reduce exploitation and shift labor migration toward higher-paid and highly skilled workers. But lower-paid foreign workers can still feel the impact. If a worker no longer meets the requirements for a permit, extending legal residence can become difficult. That does not mean automatic deportation. However, losing the legal basis to remain can eventually lead to a return requirement. For Filipino workers, Sweden's message is clear. Foreign workers are still wanted, but increasingly under stricter salary, permit, and employment conditions. Number 3. Malta. Malta depends heavily on foreign workers, but its immigration system is closely tied to employment and documentation. For non-European workers, the single permit combines permission to work with permission to reside. That means the employer, job, and permit validity can all matter. Workers generally need to submit renewals before their existing permit expires. If the process is mishandled, an otherwise legal worker can face serious immigration complications. There are protections when applications are submitted on time, but traveling while a residence card is being renewed can create additional problems. Malta also introduced a new automated health screening process for work permit applications in 2026. For Filipino workers, this means immigration compliance involves more than simply having a contract. Health requirements, residence documents, employment details, and renewal deadlines can all matter. Sometimes the biggest immigration problem is not a dramatic deportation. It is simply missing an important deadline. Number 4. Cyprus. Filipinos are an established part of Cyprus's migrant workforce, particularly in domestic and caregiving jobs. For third-country workers, employment and residence can be closely connected. Domestic workers need temporary residence and work permits, while employers must follow specific requirements covering contracts, accommodation, income, and employment changes. Changing employers is also restricted under the system, with certain limits applying unless an exception exists. This can create serious uncertainty when employment suddenly ends. A worker may have experience and another employer ready to hire them, but that does not automatically guarantee the right to transfer employment and remain legally. Cyprus also has formal procedures for cases where a worker's legal status ends, including arrangements connected to removal costs. This does not mean Cyprus is targeting Filipinos. It shows how important employment status can be for temporary migrants. For Filipino workers, losing a job can therefore become an immigration issue, not just an employment issue. Number 5. Italy. Italy actually provides one of the biggest contradictions to the idea that Europe is simply pushing foreign workers out. In 2026, Italy authorized 164,850 legal entries for non-European workers through its foreign worker quota system. This includes seasonal work, non-seasonal employment, and self-employment. The system is known as Decreto Flussi, and it controls how many workers can enter through specific legal categories. More than 76,000 places were allocated for non-seasonal employment, while 88,000 were allocated for seasonal work. So Italy clearly continues to need foreign labor, but workers must enter through the correct legal pathway, meet the requirements, and complete the required procedures. An employer wanting to hire someone does not automatically guarantee entry. For Filipino workers, Italy shows the bigger European picture. Some countries are tightening immigration while simultaneously recruiting foreign workers. The issue is increasingly about controlled legal entry, not simply shutting workers out. Number 6. Greece. Greece has a major connection to Filipino workers through the maritime industry, where Filipino seafarers have long played an important role. But there is no evidence that Greece is conducting a special deportation campaign against Filipino workers. Instead, Greek authorities maintain formal return procedures for third-country nationals who do not have valid legal status. For seafarers, documentation can be especially important because their work may involve multiple countries, ports, and immigration systems. Passports, crew documents, visas, employment records, and permissions can all affect their movement. A documentation problem is not automatically a deportation order. A worker with valid documents is not simply targeted because of nationality. The real risk begins when someone loses the legal right to remain or cannot satisfy immigration requirements. For Filipino seafarers supporting families back home, even a temporary immigration problem can disrupt contracts and income. Greece therefore represents the enforcement side of Europe's migration system. Number 7. France. France requires many non-European workers to have proper work authorization, while certain shortage occupations can receive special treatment. But the country also introduced another important change in 2026. Since January, certain non-European foreigners applying for their first multi-year residence permit must pass a civic examination. This does not mean every Filipino worker must take it, nor does it mean existing workers are automatically threatened. France also maintains formal procedures for removing people who no longer have the legal right to remain. An obligation to leave France, known as an OQTF, can be issued in qualifying situations. These rules apply broadly to foreign nationals, not specifically to Filipinos. At the same time, France continues to provide pathways for workers in shortage occupations. So France is not simply rejecting foreign labor. It is trying to control who enters, works, and remains. For Filipino workers, the key issue is maintaining valid status and meeting the conditions attached to it. Across these 7 countries, the pattern is clear. Europe is not uniformly closing its doors to Filipinos. In some places, demand for foreign workers remains strong, but the conditions for staying legally are becoming more important. For Filipino families, that means checking documents early, understanding employer responsibilities, and following official immigration guidance. The headline may say, "Europe is deporting Filipino workers." The reality is more precise. Europe is tightening parts of its immigration system, and Filipino workers can feel the impact when their legal status depends on those rules. This is not a reason to panic. It is a reason to pay attention. If you or someone in your family works in Europe, what has your experience been? Have visa rules, renewals, employers, or immigration paperwork become harder? Share your experience in the comments. Your story could help another Filipino family understand what to watch. And always verify important immigration decisions through official government sources or qualified immigration professionals. If this breakdown helped you understand what is really changing across Europe, share it with someone working abroad. Subscribe to Discovering the Earth for more clear, grounded stories about migration, work, and the policies shaping Filipino lives around the world.